Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media is signing, blacking, and shining again, asking you to hit the mother cuss word share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So here's the deal. Here's this message. Let me tell y'all straight. I've told y'all before that fasting does work to lower the male libido for most males, and that it doesn't do the same thing for women. Now, I'm going to point out again, I was reminded of this a few days ago when I was bragging about my wife's cooking to somebody else, mashallah. And he was one of several colleagues that was eating her cooking. Several colleagues and I broke fast less than a week ago, and half of it was my wife's cooking and half of it was one of the colleagues' wives' cooking. So, one colleague's wife's cooking, I should say, not one of the colleague. In other words, I'm not saying that it was one colleague. It was several colleagues, but one colleague's wife did the other half of the cooking. So I was bragging about my wife's cooking and complimenting his wife's cooking. And one of the compliments I said was that when it came to my wife and her cooking, there were days when I would remember the dinner the next day. Like in the middle of the next day, I just remember the dinner from the night before. I'd walk up, give her a hug, and say, "Thank you, yesterday's dinner was excellent." Now, one reason I do that, there's a strategic reason too. I really do appreciate it, so I show it. But the reason why I might show it more than once for the same dinner is because those are the things that she'll turn around and cook again. I mentioned this to them, and one colleague asked me later on, not in front of others, but he asked me later on, "Hey man, if you're doing this now in Ramadan in the daytime, don't you think that could irritate her?" And I was like, "Why?" And he said, "Well, you know how it is in Ramadan. Your libido goes down, but for the women it doesn't always do that. It might even go up." I knew that, but I forgot. I forgot because the male libido goes down when you're fasting. So I had to be reminded of that. So since I'm reminded of that, I figured before I forget about this again, let me remind you, knuckleheads in the audience that don't believe that it can work, that it can work. Now, some guys say, "Well, I don't want to lower the libido because it might take away other ambitions along with it." Well, okay, maybe, but maybe not. Remember, fasting lowers the libido. It doesn't change who you are. Unless, of course, that three-letter S word that's not a curse word was so important that to lower its priority, lower its importance, changes who you are. It won't change who you are. Now, it could be an obsession, and then you're not obsessed anymore, and maybe it changes who you are. But if that's the case, you need to change who the cuss word you are. So it's not really going to do that. I mean, there's a reason that Allah prescribed the fasting. It's beneficial. The benefits don't outweigh the harm. I mean, the benefits do outweigh the harms. If the harms outweigh the benefits, he would not have prescribed it. If it's actually unhealthy for someone, they should not fast. Children, old people, really old people shouldn't fast. So all I'm getting at here is that you got a method. And I know that a lot of people say, well, that's not realistic. It's evolution, it's biology, you can't fight it. And what I'm saying to you is, not only can you fight it and control it, I'm going to completely pull the rug out from the arguments, from under the arguments that you guys use from nature to debate with me about this. Now, first, I want you to think, if you actually can pull this off, and many men find out about this, even the ones that are Muslim, if they find out about this or find something else that can lower the libido, I want you to stop and think, what is that going to do to the West? See, in order to make the situation any better in the West, there are two things that have to happen. Number one, you got to get passports and be ready to go, and you have the option to bounce. But that's one of two prongs that are necessary. A two-pronged approach is necessary. Many men will be stuck in the West. You can't all leave, especially at one time. So for those that are still stuck there, you lower the libido. This works even when you're young. What you think it's going to do for you when you get in your 30s? If you're in your 20s now. Gentlemen, believe me, gentlemen, when I tell you, this will work. Or you find something else that does. But if you think about the effects, the necessary effects, the effects that have to come about, we're already seeing the tip of that iceberg right now. But we have not realized the full iceberg. Right now, you were seeing recordings where women are proposing marriage to men and actually being told no. You are also seeing recordings in which men are proposing to women and being told no. So what that shows you is that women have come to a subconscious understanding or a conscious understanding. The men they want to marry don't want to marry them, so if a man gets down and proposes, then this must not be the one she wants to marry. And in reality, to get what they want, they're going to have to go after it, including him. And if the men that are young lower the libido in mass in the West, in one country in the West, the secret is going to get out. If in the West in general, men in mass start to lower the libido, I would say black men, just black men, because you're the ones about whom I am concerned, but it's not something it's not a secret that could be discovered by one and then left off by the others. Right now, it's the Muslim men that know this, but people don't follow us for the most part, except maybe in Philadelphia. Non-Muslims don't really follow Muslims, and I get that, but this is something that can actually help out and completely change, not just on YouTube, but it can change in reality on the street what is going on. It actually would flip the table. The rabbit would have the gun. The lion would have the hunter on the run. See, right now, that three-letter S word is, let's say, I think it's sixth in the hierarchy of needs. Air, water, food, shelter and safety. Maybe it's safety and shelter. Whatever the case is, safety and shelter do come in front of it. They come after air, water, and food. I get it. Safety and shelter. Those are the two that are far easier for us than, or they're less of a big deal for us than they are for the ladies. The ladies want absolute security and the best, most braggadocious shelter. You need shelter. You need to be able to stay not too warm, not too cold. I should say not too hot, not too cold. You need to be able to stay clean. Safe from predators, even the two-legged ones. You need these things. She needs to be able to show the ukfoff to other women. That's what's funny about it. She needs not only safety, but she needs status. So that's why it is that for her, that three-letter S word is maybe seventh or eighth or ninth. It's because, you know what? They can put other things in front of it. Because we made it too easy. Now, why do we make it too easy? Well, because of the libido. It's not like they don't have a libido. They just have arrogance and conceit in front of the libido. Even with the insecurities and fears and doubts that they have, they still have arrogance and conceit in front of the libido because they somewhere down the line got the message in the West that we're their inferiors until proven otherwise. They fantasize about Superman while being Lois Lame with an M as in Mary, not an N as in Nancy, because we've reinforced to them that they're the celebrities, we're the fans, we are inferior. You go into societies in which there's no such idea, no reinforcement, that's where you see things change and be different. Now that that has been said, I can move on and tell you the next thing. You can already imagine what it would mean if all of a sudden men know how to lower the libido, and a girl or a woman can still be attractive and cute visually as she was before, but it's just a hell of a lot less important. All of a sudden, that sixth priority is now very low. It takes on the priority that a Ferrari or a yacht or a luxury hotel room, rather a luxury hotel suite, takes on in your life. These are things that are nice if you can get your hands on them, but you ain't got to have them. You can live without them and function very well. Now imagine being able to lower this physical need down to that priority. That's what fasting does. For other men, it may be something else, independent of fasting or along with and in combination with fasting, but you can start with that. One thing I've been told about is how a lot of medical students, male and female alike, have found that photographs of certain injuries and illnesses they have to study, the photographs, the visual depictions, lower their libido. Now, some say, well, look at the age they are, that's around the age that the libido declines. No, it's the images. They can still reproduce. They can still enjoy certain, but you know what? They may have to actually go on vacation to do so. So in any case, now that we got that out the way, let me go ahead and tell y'all more. Let me tell y'all this next thing and shoot down these arguments that some of y'all have when any man says this. I'm only talking about lowering the libido. I'm not talking about lowering your ambition to accomplish certain things. I'm not talking about that. As a matter of fact, maybe if you fasted, you would have the ambition but not the impatience to accomplish certain things. You might actually be nicer to yourself and give yourself more time to do it. Or be more realistic with yourself about why you did not succeed and whether or not it was really your fault. Instead of just saying, it's me, I'm accountable, and it's my fault. No, most businesses don't succeed. Most people are not going to be wealthy. So that's not even your fault. If you're using that as a measuring stick for yourself, most will never. That's just another source of anxiety. You might as well retain the high libido and keep on chasing the punani if that's the case. But to be willing to make the attempts is completely fine. However, fasting does not remove your ambition. What it does is it removes an anxiety. An anxiety that is not natural. Now, the libido being high at certain ages is natural, but in a natural situation, I wouldn't have to tell you to reduce it. However, we're in an unnatural situation, which is why it becomes an anxiety. The ladies in the West have functioned together as a labor union to make sure that it remains an anxiety for most of you, the normal ones of you. Then they'll turn around and use that to say, well, you're not even normal. You're subpar. You're mediocre. No, B word, you just extra picky. You're just ridiculously hypergamous. You're just entitled. You're Lois Lane and you feel entitled to Superman. That's all it is. We can see that now, and I thank Mr. Samuels for showing this, even if that's not what he meant to do. But next thing I'm going to tell you is that you can't use nature as an argument anymore. See, I'm going to give a shout out to Attorney Sperling because he did the right thing when it came to using these documentary clips to show us insight to ourselves as human beings. But he agreed, as did some other people, that we can't use these other species as models per se. They're more like mirrors. But they can't be models. We cannot blindly follow them, and they will not blindly follow us. However, we can learn certain things. Well, some of you are going to say, Black Mind, you're unrealistic, man. Evolution, biology, millions of years. You can't change that. No, shuck that fit. I'm going to tell you how we can. Number one, you take the women with the baddest bodies, and we live our lives without them. Now they bad and everybody can see them, but we live our lives without them. Most of us don't get them. It ain't even because there ain't enough of them to go around. It's because they're just arrogant and conceited when it comes to men. Still got insecurities. They could buy a bubble booty, buy some breast, and still have fears and doubts and insecurities like the boogeyman told us about. And yet, after that, they still feel like they're superior to you. Even though everything you got to accomplish, you have to actually accomplish. You can't go out and buy muscles. If you did, they laugh at you because it's fake. So now that we got that out the way, I'm going to tell y'all, you look at these other species. I have watched documentaries a lot. I've had more time to watch them in the summer than most of you have. And so what I've seen is that the animal observers and scientists are still learning things about these species. I could tell you what they've learned about lions and the interplay between males and females, but I'm not going to go into that completely because it has more to do with hunting. Let me just tell you what I saw in these documentaries with my own two mother cuss word eyes and heard with my own two ears. There is a male leopard that was on camera being friendly, polite to a female leopard who had just left her own mother's territory, just struck out on her own, but he wasn't pressed he wasn't pressed to get the cat, all puns intended. She had to flirt heavy and throw it at him. Finally, he mated with her. There was a male wolf that joined the pack. Now, wolf packs are not normally, in nature, a beta male and an omega male under an alpha. Wolf packs in nature are normally a mating couple of adults raising their own cubs, even if the cubs are similar to them in size. They still have to mentally mature before they strike out on their own. But there was a lone solitary male wolf that was allowed to join a particular pack. He wasn't pressed for the daughter of the pack. She's not related to him by blood. It's not a sibling, and she had no mate. He was not pressed for her. He wandered off on his own at some point, not leaving the group permanently, but he went off on his own temporarily, and she snuck away from the others to join him and get some, and had to throw it at him. Now, there was another case. You may say, well, you know what? Still, these are anomalies. Okay, let me bring it a little closer to home. Gorillas are more similar to us genetically and psychologically. So, I'm not here to debate evolution with you in theology. That's not it. I don't buy into necessarily evolution, but are they genetically similar to us? Well, yeah, apparently so. So, that being said, a male gorilla, silverback, head of a band of gorillas, allowed a young female to wander in and join the band. He did not reject her from the band. He did not expel her after accepting her, but he did not accept her sexual advances either. So anyway, I got interrupted, but the point I'm making is that even when they're similar to us, you will see this. Now, whatever the reason is, maybe she was too young, too new, it doesn't matter. The point is, he restricted it. So even in these lower species, close to us or far from us, you can see where even though the females generally do control the access to the draws, if you want to call them that, males can still restrict access. They can. But more importantly, I want you to understand something. In all three cases, what happened was that because these males were not pressed, it was thrown at them. That's not all. There was a case in the Atlanta Zoo. There's a male gorilla, or there was, named Ivan. I don't know if he's still alive or not, or if he's still in Atlanta. But Ivan sired several baby gorillas. However, when Ivan first was taken to the zoo and put into the enclosure with female gorillas, he did not know how to mate. He'd been locked up by himself all this time. He didn't know how to mate. Nobody ever saw him jacking off, as far as the zookeeper said. He didn't know how. So when the female gorillas wanted some in the beginning, guess what they had to do? They had to actually throw it at them and teach them how. So all I'm going to say is, all I'm getting at here is that you can. Don't ever say that you can't. It is possible. You can do it. And you can see what the result is. That which you pursued now pursues you. Thank you for listening. Y'all already know. So until next time, I'm not going to do the whole outro this time, but till next time, y'all take it easy. Think about what I said. And don't come in my comment section with the BS. Assalamu alaikum.